All right, let's talk about the specifications for sequence number 2. Okay, you will find these in the lecture notes for sequence 2. Okay, and those are on the class website. So you'll want to read through all of this because this basically summarizes a lot of the comments that I made on your sequence 1 critique videos. So read through this. This will help you kind of keep your head around the process. So the specs for sequence 2, you must use a different quote. Okay, so that's something that that you got to do that. Okay, you can choose either the quote 1 or quote 2, whichever one you did not use for sequence 1. If you used your own quote for sequence 1, you can still use one of these two quotes, or you may also select a new quote of your choice. So again, read the requirements for this. Your typeface is a good place to start is Helvetica or Arial. Regular weight, good place to start, but it's not required. You may use any typeface of your choice to start. You can use any typeface along the duration of the project as well, and you may add or change typefaces along the way. Again, the same desktop specs, 800 by 800 pixels with a 1 pixel black border, 600 by 600 centered inside of that. You'll start at 18 point, that's still required. You'll still be flush left, position upper left, 20 pixels left top and margin. So that's the same as sequence 1, and that is still a requirement. Laptop a little bit smaller, you can read through that, 550 by 550, 400 by 400 black 1 pixel border centered inside. You'll be starting with 12 point, flush left, upper left, and 15 pixels left and top margin. Okay, same as sequence 1. So at this point, you're going to want to refer to the final specs for final output details. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. The steps are still the same, okay, and you will still be okay. All right. Okay, that's about it for this. There's new links to the final specifications as well. There are new sequence 2 videos, and you'll find those in the online resources, as well as there are some new featured albums, and you can check those out for further inspiration as well. So let's take a look at, if you were to click on the final specifications right here, let's talk about what that means. Again, this is on my website, and this is the project homepage. And so again, you'll be referring to lecture notes for specific details, but this has more of the specifics for technical stuff. So sequence 2, typing graphics, you will be using type, graphical elements, and optional images in sequence 2. You'll be using a different quote. You may use any creative possibility. In other words, hey, if you think it might be cool, go for it, right? Pull out the stops. The usual step 1 through step 10, you'll be starting with the text set as is. You should be breaking down your quote into islands. In other words, break down the lines of text immediately so that you have your islands already set. Again, step 3 through 10, the same idea. Okay, so you will be using islands of information, your hierarchy, emphasis, de-emphasis, effective type, expression, syntax and semantics, legibility, and readability. Your variables now are different typefaces, okay? My recommendation is to hold it to 3 typefaces, but if you have typeface families that have a lot of options, then you have a lot of options just within the typefaces that you pick. You are not limited to 3, but be careful. So same thing, letter word line spacing, letter word and line breaks. I would encourage everyone to think about more about letter spacing, because there's a lot of neat things you can do if you tighten up the kerning, or if you tighten up the tracking, or if you loosen it up. Again, you'll have all your font size, style, and weight variations. You now have style and color. You can, again, I didn't see a lot of people in sequence 1 doing value, overlap, transparency. You can use blends, filters, effects, and masks. I didn't see much of that either, so keep that in mind. Graphical elements, these can be textures, they can be graphic shapes. You can use images, you can use background or graphical color. Image type overlap. Basically, you can do pretty much whatever you want. Same thing with sequence 2. You're going to be creating roughly a 15 to 20 step sequence. Different quote. You'll be refining and editing that back to a 10-step sequence, just like in sequence 1. And then we'll be further editing this to 5 final steps. The 5 final steps will be due next week. And so you can save this final edit till the very end. Okay, your final publication. You will be creating a final PDF document, including both of your 5-step final sequences. You'll be creating a title page for that document. And you will use Adobe Acrobat to composite all the pages into one single document. Your final output will be in JPEG. And you will be putting all your sequences 1 into one folder, all your sequence 2 into one folder. Put each of your final sequences into its own folder. Put all of these folders into one big folder with your name. Label all your folders appropriately. Put the final PDF in the folder. And put everything on the Mat server. As well, you will be posting your final 5 sequences for both 1 and 2 on the class website and make a separate album for each of those. You'll be writing a design reflection statement. You can write one, but it'd be nice to sort of say what you did in sequence 1 and then write another statement for sequence 2, because you'll end up with a different experience having been through it once, and then the refinements that you can do in sequence 2. Okay, then you'll comment and critique on at least 3 of your peers' work. You'll be scored on the sequences for part 1 and 2, on the overall development, on your creativity, and on the overall design effectiveness. Okay, so then, your project 5 due dates, you'll find those on the website. Semester schedule is the big picture. And of course, online resources and chapter 6 from my book, Graphic Design in 2 Years. So that's the specifications for sequence 2. So this is a lot of fun, and this should be a very creative and experiential path that you'll be following, and it should end up with something that looks really cool. All right, have fun.